Alright, we're outside with it once again today, and I think today one of the things I want to do is discuss a battle I debunked months ago. I always promised I would come back to it and analyze it myself in detail. I haven't done that yet, so today I'm going to do a complete war between Kakashi from Naruto and Obi Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. Complete war basically means 3 rounds, right? First round, this will feature Padawan Kenobi versus Part 1 Kakashi. Round 2, Master slash General Kenobi versus Shippuden Kakashi. Round 3, peak versus peak. So Master Kenobi, like after Revenge of the Sith, versus Dual Mangekyo Sharingan Kakashi. So who wins in those 3 rounds? It's going to be best out of 10 for each round, so a total of 30. Total score at the end will decide who wins. I'm looking forward to this. If you like battles like this, matchups like this, analysis like this, hit the like button, subscribe button, and make sure to hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my content. And if you want to become a member, hang out with me, check out future videos, all my scans, all my research, everything like that, make sure to comment down below that you're interested, and I'll talk to you about how to become a member. Now, let's begin. First round. This is probably the most important because it does provide a solid base to build upon for later rounds. However, it is important to remember certain things will change, okay? So this round doesn't dictate who wins overall. Round 1, first we'll talk about Padawan Kenobi. Kenobi, when he initially went to the Jedi Temple, actually was no sort of prodigy or anything like that. He was kind of a jobber. Poor footwork, not very athletic, pretty goofy. As a result, it didn't look very promising for him early on to become a successful Jedi. Nonetheless, one of the most talented Jedi ever, Qui-Gon Jinn, took him under his wing and really turned him into one of the more promising Padawans around by the time close to the death of Qui-Gon. So Obi Wan Kenobi has a few feats back then. He was able to match up and square off with Xanatos, who is a former apprentice and turned rogue Jedi to Qui-Gon Jinn. And this was quite a good battle and pretty impressive for him to put in early work, because Qui-Gon himself was actually a little flustered fighting Xanatos, and Qui-Gon was a prodigy with the blade. And this is a significantly younger Qui-Gon than the one that fought Maul, which is important because obviously this means he was closer to his prime. Also, Qui-Gon himself noted that early on he believed Kenobi would one day surpass him pretty soon in terms of being a talented duelist. In terms of his dueling, this is the most different Kenobi than all the other rounds, because this Kenobi mainly focused on Ataru. Now, first form you learn in lightsaber combat is Shicho. This is basic strikes, basic defense, how to take out multiple foes, stuff like that. Just, rarely seen is Form 1 taken to a very high standard. Some worth noting would probably be OG Luke when he got more talented with the blade, and Kit Fisto. Kit Fisto was a monster with Form 1. He was like the GOAT of that form. Anyways, this is what we know Kenobi had, but on top of that, he chose Ataru, which is the athletic, acrobatic, aggressive, offensive style of lightsaber combat, and this was a style that Qui-Gon Jinn used, but later on Qui-Gon used a more grounded, powerful approach that I personally believe was more akin to Form 5 than it is Form 4. But anyways, this Kenobi, young Kenobi, was a quick, aggressive young Jedi Padawan. When his master was cut down by Darth Maul, one of the most dangerous duelists of his time. I don't like Maul, but I gotta give him credit when it's due. Kenobi stepped up. Enraged, he was able to briefly contend with Maul by himself, even knocking him back and cutting his blade in half. Eventually, he would beat Maul, but this is more so because Maul was conceded. But yeah, this Kenobi as a duelist is pretty talented. He's just completely different than his other styles because he's more aggressive and offensive oriented here. In terms of the Force, he does use mind tricks, Force push, Force pull, and uses mostly the Force for precog and to assist in acrobatics. By the way, sorry if you hear background noise. Like I said, it's beautiful outside. We're outside with it, having fun while I'm recording this on my podcast. Next up, let's talk about Part 1 Kakashi now. This is the character that made me like Naruto a lot when I was a kid. He is one of the most talented prodigies to come out of the Leaf Village ever. This separates him completely from Kenobi. It's kind of why it was weird that they chose this matchup for Death Battle, but whatever. But he was a prodigy, even a member of the Anbu Black Ops at a young age, which is one of the prestigious elite fighting groups in the ninja world. However, they job hard as hell, so take that with a grain of salt. Still, Kakashi was, even as a young kid, able to cut lightning, actually tag lightning itself, using his Raikiri, which is a lightning chakra-based blade. He uses chakra, which for those that are Star Wars fans, not really familiar with Naruto, this is like your natural energy, so it is important. And Part 1 Kakashi's gas tank was kind of suspect. He was able to, pull off a few lightning blades, but he would get extremely exhausted after that. But you gotta understand the techniques Kakashi uses are very powerful. Raikiri is even a little more dangerous than Chidori, which is what Sasuke uses. As well as he uses the Sharingan, and Part 1 Kakashi doesn't nearly have as good control of it. However, with it, he can mimic your movements, style, note your movements and predict it afterwards, see things faster, outright copy. It makes him incredibly dangerous, earned him the nickname of the ninja, the copycat ninja with 1,000 moves, all that. In terms of hand-to-hand combat and up-close melee combat, he is considered, according to the data books, one of the most dangerous taijutsu users in the Leaf Village, which, for Star Wars fans, taijutsu is hand-to-hand. And this is very impressive because, obviously, you have Mike Guy out here doing nothing but sweating taijutsu. Like, that's all he does. That's all the reps he get in. Even still, even in Part 1, Kakashi was right up there with him in skill. Absolutely ridiculous, his natural skill. He also uses several different chakra natures, not just lightning blade. He also uses wind, water. He uses clones. Overall, in Part 1, the only thing that really held Kakashi back was his gas tank, and he didn't get any real great W's like Zabuza. When they clashed, Zabuza actually got the better of him earlier, and there was outside interference that let him run it back. And yes, he was going to kill him, but that's after round 1. He shit himself when he saw Orochimaru, but that's no disrespect because Orochimaru is built different. So when you look at that, who do I think wins round 1? This is fascinating because this Kenobi's coming at Kakashi completely different. This Kakashi has a more versatile bag of tricks than Kenobi does, by far. So he has them in the versatility department. In terms of speed, I think they're tied. I think they're pretty close. This Kenobi was not nearly as fast as he becomes later. And he doesn't use his speed as efficiently as he does later. This Kakashi simply doesn't scale to later versions of Kakashi. He constantly trains anyway, which kind of justifies him getting stronger later. But even still, looking at this, I favor no one. I think it's a tie. I think Kakashi can catch him early. When Obi Wan's being aggressive and pressing the battle, if he catches him early, sure, he could pull the W. But I think if it drags out, young Kenobi has an excellent gas tank, and he's very tough, very stubborn. He can definitely survive a few of those jutsus. Now, Raikiri, I don't think it lands. I think Kenobi's a good enough duelist to block it with his lightsaber. Because of this, I see the first round really being 50-50. If you put a gun to my head and said, villain, pick one, I'd favor Part 1 Kakashi. I think he has more versatility and can possibly land it. But still, I want to go tie for now. Part 2. Excellent battle. Shippuden Kakashi. This is really before he gets those massive amps. And then we have Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Obi Wan Kenobi, era Kenobi. So, by this point, Obi Wan Kenobi is a well-established, one of the greatest generals to ever serve the Republic. One of the most respected Jedi Masters. His apprentice is one of the most successful Jedi generals as well, Anakin Skywalker, and is the chosen one. And at this point, because of what he had witnessed, which was his master getting cut down by a Sith, Obi Wan realized he wanted to make a shift in style. This shift became more predicated upon defense and passive play instead of being aggressive. This came with Kenobi absolutely mastering Form 3 of lightsaber combat, Surisu. Surisu is dedicated to full-on defense. You play perfect defense with the blade, focusing on the blade, and when opportunity arises because the offense is getting too aggressive, that's when you strike. It's not really a counter-strike, it's more so survive and then take them out. But where I feel people sleep on Kenobi in this region is they kind of just attribute him with purely Surisu and say, okay, that's it, he doesn't have any offense. That's not true at all. You got to understand, like I told you in round 1, he used to be very talented in Ataru. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve offensively, and he's gifted physically to use them. It's just he prefers Surisu. But if he gets in a jam, he can switch up styles just like that. It's not hard for him. He's a talented duelist. And it's like saying, I'm a real... Israel Adesanya, MMA fighter, right? He's a UFC champion. He was a really good kickboxer, and he's a UFC champion. But then I say, oh, he's not going to use kickboxing, he's going to use wrestling and regular boxing, because maybe Muay Thai because he's in the MMA. No, he's going to use his full bag of tricks if he has to. That's how I feel about Part 3 Kenobi. In terms of the Force, he got significantly more powerful with the Force, being able to ragdoll General Grievous, who most Jedi Masters can't even tag with Force pushes. Not to mention, we've seen Grievous literally plant his feet in the ground and withstand Force blasts from other Jedi, yet Kenobi ragdolled him. Kenobi was able to match the power in a clash of the Force with raging Anakin in Episode 3. This Anakin had been able to casually run through Jedi Masters. It was ridiculous. And this, showing this feat of power does briefly, and when I say briefly, I mean Kenobi can do it briefly. He can briefly reach levels of power that would like be on par with Yoda, just given the Anakin scaling. This is impressive because Yoda in the comics was able to fight a being whose laugh alone could throw asteroids out of orbit and who was bigger than a mountain. So, and Yoda kind of dicked on him. So, yeah, Kenobi is stupidly powerful here in the Force, utilizing more efficiently the Force push. Usually does this when he creates separation with his good defense. He became the best Surisu user ever. I do think Bane's really good, but Kenobi was saucy with it. Mace Windu found him to be even a better matchup for Grievous because of this. And if Mace calls you a monster as a duelist, that's saying something, because Mace himself is one of the best to ever do it. And overall, this is a conservative and way more powerful version of Kenobi, way more seasoned, way more powerful, to the point that this Kenobi, even earlier on, was able to survive a mental attack, a psychic attack that was likened to 100 Darth Mauls in power. Yeah, his resistance, Force push, connection to the Force, his ability to channel the Force and basically not achieve oneness but allow himself to flow into this like flow state makes him absolutely formidable up close. And overall, Kenobi is one of my favorite duelists ever and is one of the most dangerous up close combatants you could ask for in terms of characters that aren't like ridiculously high tier. Now, moving on, Shippuden Kakashi, before he got the bad writing plot boost, right? This Kakashi was actually, I feel, very slept on. His scaling for speed's quite formidable, given you can somewhat scale him to the Raikage. Sasuke was able to react to the Raikage. Sasuke and Kakashi briefly swapped hands. Not to mention, Kakashi was able to keep up with Kakuzu pretty easily, and he gets stronger even later. And still, in that Kakuzu fight, in the manga at least, Kakashi himself later on states he was holding back because he didn't want to use his full MS abilities and his bag of tricks, because if he was to do that, it would physically cripple him for a pretty good amount of time. So even then, Kakashi could have taken out Kakuzu with full power. It's just the drawbacks of using the Sharingan to that extent at that point was too much. His stamina has increased a little bit. He can use a few more blades, Raikiris. He's able to use more clones. Lightning clones are more so in the mix. If he's able to get the drop on you, he can line up this early on addition of Kamui, which is a space-time manipulation jutsu that's dangerous to the point that if he gets your head in the scope and is able to fire it, basically, and when I say fire, of course, he has to line up his visual with you and have there's a brief delay as space-time's manipulated. He can take your head off. He can take a body part off. He took Datara's arm off. This Kakashi's far more dangerous than part 1 because his stamina's increased a little bit, but he's smarter, more mature. He has the Mangekyo Sharingan now, which makes his psychic abilities, his Genjutsu, which is basically manipulating. I basically would, for comic people and Star Wars fans, like telepathic attacks. Think of it that way. That's how it translates across the verse, but it's just a lot more cool in Naruto. But anyways, he has significantly more mature Genjutsu resistance, which is psychic resistance, and he even showed he was casually able to mind hacks the root members of the Anbu Black Ops. Just looked at them and it was done. So yeah, and with Mangekyo Sharingan, he stepped up to Itachi and wasn't really worried about having that mental battle, despite their first round being a bop. So yeah, part 2 Shippuden Kakashi before the bad writing, even still, was significantly more impressive. Who do I see winning in this battle? Kenobi. Round 2 favorites Kenobi. My reasoning for this is eventually Kakashi's going to try to get in. He's going to try to get in close, and Kenobi is leagues above anybody in skill that at this point Kakashi's fought, especially as an up-close duelist. Forget about it. I mean, Kenobi's literally out-dueling characters that have hundreds of years of experience of non-stop dueling and dueling training. So yeah, Kenobi's just too powerful. He's also able to basically neg anything Kakashi's going to throw at him, and he just has to sit, and because of his different nature than round 1, which is why round 1 was a draw, round 2 Kenobi is a lot more mature and conservative and knows when to dish out the power, when to strike. Because of that, I favor this round. I'm going to say about 8 out of 10, mid to high diff. General/Master Kenobi wins round 2. Round 3, peak. This is where shit hits the fans for both sides. So peak for Kenobi will be observed as essentially him before New Hope, after Revenge of the Sith. This era, Kenobi was much more wise. He had to defeat his former pupil, his little brother essentially. Thought he killed him. Moved on to overlook the raising of his, basically his nephew from far away, which was Luke Skywalker. And he matured deeply in the Force. He had a few scuffles, especially in Legends. This includes battling Darth Krayt. This version of Darth Krayt was actually still Het. He didn't become Krayt at that point. But Het wanted to strike back at Vader and Sidious, and his plans included recruiting Kenobi, right, on Tatooine. Kenobi wasn't going for it. A brawl ensued. Kenobi defeated him, knocked his arm off and everything, and told him, you were a great Jedi, your daddy was a great Jedi, you fell off, homeboy, and humbled him right there. Quite impressive, and was quite a showing. Vader in the books was horrified at the idea of fighting Kenobi because he didn't know what version of Kenobi was showing up. Like, he knew, because of how powerful his former master was and how disciplined he was, that if he had been training or meditating any of that, this Kenobi was more dangerous than any other version of Kenobi ever. And his latent power was so strong that Luke stated in novels and in his own notebook in the Legends Extended Universe that he believed Kenobi potentially had the power to even threaten the Emperor himself. The Emperor, who is many times more powerful than the version of him who shook stars with his laughter. Basically, he popped a boner after killing his former master Plagueis and like shook stars with his excitement. That version of Sidious got multiple times stronger, and they believe Kenobi at that point, with latent power if he went all out, could perhaps even challenge him. Nuts. Next, let's look at Kakashi. You want to talk about a come up, son? Kakashi with dual MS. Not only is this Kakashi much stronger, right? His gas tank's ridiculous. Like, he went from, yo, I got about 10 minutes to fight before my battery's on red, to like casually fighting Bijou, mountain busting beings, casually like continent busting beings, fighting these, throwing hands with them all day and night, throwing hands with the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist all day and night, like shit like that, fighting all day, no breaks. His stamina refill got like low-key hundreds of times better compared to former versions. He eventually obtains a dual Mangekyo Sharingan through plot. This allows him to use a perfect Susanoo, which is like a massive chakra-based entity that protects him from harm. He's also able to use this OD version of Kamui, where it's like, I think it's Kamui Shuriken's one of them too, where he can manipulate items and bypass durability, and use Kamui to bypass your durability. He was using this to hurt and fight off Kaguya. Kaguya is a being who can destroy her own space-time dimensions. So yeah, this Kakashi got way OD, flying around with this perfect Susanoo. It's massive in size. If you can't tell by now, I don't see Kenobi beating this Kakashi. Yes, in terms of raw power, Kenobi absolutely can be scaled to the likes of Kakashi. But the versatility, the tricks that bypass durability, stuff like that, it's scary for Kenobi. I don't think Kenobi really has an answer for this level of significant, powerful tricks that Kakashi brings to the table. And because of that, I favor Kakashi about mid-diff, 8 times out of 10, mid to high diff. Because it's so close, and it's more so looking like a draw at this point, I have to go back to round 1, reassess. And like I told you before, if you held a gun to my head and asked me to pick round 1, for sure, definite winner, I'd favor part 1 Kakashi. So because of that, Kakashi wins the complete war. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. This is one of my closest battles ever. An absolute blast of a complete war. If you ask me, at their peak, without bad plot writing, Kenobi wins. But I included dual MS, so Kakashi got the W. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to see these characters again in different battles, let me know. If you like Star Wars vs. Naruto battles, hit the like button. Show love. I'll do more of it. It's just y'all got to give me more views on that content. Anyways, it's been your boy, your favorite villain, YFV, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.